Hi, and welcome to I welcome to episode 25 of We've Got Issues and You've Got Them Too. We will be covering the aftermath of the election and everything that has come from that. Potential civil war being joked about on TikTok, all that jazz. But let's go ahead and just jump right into it. So, um, obviously, like, the counting is still happening. Like, they are still isn't aren't there still, like, someone quoted that there was, like, still cities in Georgia that needed to be counted, but Georgia was already called. I know
Georgia's
that
done.
the ballots still take a while to get in, but I don't think they count them after the 9th, right?
Georgia's done counting. They're recounting now.
Oh, they're recounting now.
Yeah, because
Okay.
he's within the margin where he can request a recount. It has to be below zero point 0.5.
Mm-hmm.
And Biden was up by like I think zero point 0.1 or zero point 0.2. Won by 14,000. Not 14,000, sorry. Like 1,400, I think, votes. Something ridiculous. I'll have to look it up in a second. It was something really low. Like I think it was 1,400 or 2,000. 14,000 was the margin in Wisconsin, I think, or 20,000. Um, yeah, I mean everything's done. It's all called. Arizona got called obviously the other day. Nevada got called the other day. Um, you're it's over. I mean it's been over since basically November 4th. But it's not going to be ratified till December, and I think there's a lot of hypocrisy from the far right wing where it's the media doesn't decide the election, but you guys were fine with celebrating on November 3rd or whatever, November 6th, 2016, whatever the date was of the election, first Tuesday of November.
Mm-hmm.
You were fine celebrating his victory, at 11:57 p.m. on Tuesday, but now you want to say, let's wait till it's ratified in December. And it's like, it's the same thing. Like you celebrated his victory the day of the election. There was no rigging. As far as them saying that's the same thing as 2016, where the Democrats said the election was rigged, they weren't talking about voting. They were talking about the misinformation came by Russia in the months leading up to it, and not the actual voting process. And that whole Russia thing and the investigation led to over 30 indictments of people around Donald Trump. So if you can pretend like it's a hoax and it didn't happen, but 30 people in his close circle were indicted for discussing policy with foreign adversaries like Russia and treason. I mean, Roger Stone went to prison for treason. So you were talking about over people, Steve Bannon, Roger Stone, um, just Michael Cohen's personal lawyer. A lot of them went to jail, and to say that it didn't happen and it was just a hoax is obtuse. It's stupid. It happened.
it's it is stupid because at that point you're just digging in your heels and you're doing whatever fits
Yeah.
your narrative, whatever that narrative may be. In this case, it is for Trump. Like, the thing that just baffles me, and I will continue to say this, is how mixed a lot of the views are. It's like, it's so conditional, a lot of the things that they believe, that it's
Mhm.
like, if the Democrats had wanted a recount in 2016, they would have been like, it's done, it's over, we won, blah, 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 blah,
And
blah.
there were recounts in 2016. I just like to point that out. There were recounts in 2016. Um, the margins. So Donald Trump won in very slim margins in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin last time. Very slim. I think I read somewhere that those three margins together are smaller than the margin he lost Michigan by, which was 130,000. To act like it was even close to what it was in 2016 is just it's stupid. He lost by more than he won by last time. Um, as far as them comparing it to 2000 Bush Gore, that is just
I see that
literally
a
the
lot.
dumbest thing you can compare it to. That was 500 votes. 500. No states within even 1,000 right now. So to say 500 to bring up the Florida Gore thing is just so stupid. Georgia's not even that close. Wisconsin's not even close. It's 20,000, not 500. Pennsylvania's over 60,000 now. Michigan's over 100,000. Arizona's over 14,000. Nevada was, I think, around 11 or 12 last time I checked. So none of those races are even close to 500. You're talking about flipping 6 states in order for him to win. How is that going to happen? It's not, unless there is some treasonous act performed that, you know, goes outside of what a republic or a democracy stands for and leans towards, what the Republicans have been so worried about, communism and fascism. I think you need to look inward for that communism and fascism and look at your current president. He is the one who is pushing for fascism. He is the one who has displayed communistic tendencies.
And like we said in one of our earlier podcasts, he's been rubbing shoulders, writing beautiful letters to Kim Jong-un and falling in love with him. That's not something I would want the leader of the free world to be saying.
Yeah.
Especially in something where we are supposed to be free. That just don't sit right with me. Don't sit right with me.
It just blows my mind that we have some people who are outside the realm of reality.
Reason. Seriously.
Reason and reality, yeah. That this is over. It's been over. And I've seen a lot of people that are not on the right wing or are kind of on the right wing, like people like John Kasich, the former governor of Ohio, saying that now it's time to come together with unity and listen to what the right has to say and let them be heard. No.
Why would we give them a platform when they had 4 years?
You had 4 years. You had a president in office. You had your time to speak. You showed what you wanted to embrace. Time's up. You're done. I just don't see how they think that it's time to listen to their ideas. Your ideas were to make immigration worse. Your ideas were to remove environmental protections. Your ideas were to make it harder for people who are part of the LGBT community to get medical care. Your ideas hurt the military members, not the military funding, the military members. Your ideas made our country more segregated, more racist, hateful. And I just don't see it as something that we should embrace in a new
presidency.
Yeah, new presidency. I was going to say regime, but regime sounds fascist. So
yeah, presidency.
It's not something we should embrace with somebody coming into a new term, a new president. To pretend it is just stupid. You had your 4 years, you had your platform, and now it's time to move on.
I hope that, and maybe this is the optimist in me, I hope that every like diehard Trump supporter can just maybe like take the L and for a second, like maybe even just a split second, just have like a moment of reflection where it's like, was I doing the right thing? Like even if that crosses into the mind of a Trumper, then I feel like there can be progress. But it's still
72 million people voted for the man, though.
Yeah, I know.
It's just
I know.
I'd love to change people's minds and open their eyes to who he is. I would say this, that the Christian right no longer exists. It is not a thing. Christianity doesn't teach hatred. Christianity doesn't teach to discriminate. Christianity doesn't teach to be xenophobic, racist. It doesn't teach us any of those things. And the fact that a lot of people are talking about praying for Donald Trump to still be president. Donald Trump is not a Christian. He's not. If he's anything, he's probably agnostic, in my opinion. His policies do not fit somebody who is a Christian or who is religious in any sense. I'm not saying agnostics are bad people, but you just don't say like that Donald Trump is somebody you would want to be like the pillar of Christianity. Somebody who's been married 5 times, cheats on his wives, has 26 sexual assault claims, wants to grab him by the pussy. I don't see that as somebody who's a Christian leader.
I always laugh so hard when I see those like boomer fucking like Jesus and Trump standing next to each other, and I'm like, do you like?
To some of them, he's their god.
The paradoxical, like, are you kidding me? They're not even in the same fucking realm, galaxy, fucking they're not. They're the complete opposite person, and someone posted something that was like, Jesus was a liberal or something, and I read through it and I was like, wow, yeah, that's pretty accurate. Like he took in the lowest of the low and he made sure that everybody had a fair chance.
I don't disagree with you, but I don't think I think that that's part of what's wrong with the Republican Party. Religion doesn't belong in politics.
That's why there's the separation of church and state.
Yeah,
Yes,
and everybody
fully agree.
tends, or at least half the country just pretends that like the church and state never happened, separation of church and state. And it's okay to be religious, absolutely. I mean, it's freedom of religion. That is the United States, freedom of religion. But we've seen an increase in the last 4 years of white supremacy. We've seen an increase of Islamophobia. We've seen an increase in xenophobia, and all those things don't fit in to a country that has religious freedom, especially the Islamophobia part. To be against another religion, especially freedom of religion, we're supposed to all, have our own, religion that we can have. This isn't some country where they can make us choose a religion and that's it. It's done. You choose our religion and that's done. So it goes against everything that America's supposed to be the land of the free. And we always talk about this, that Republicans in particular are far right wing, whatever you want to say, nitpick what freedoms.
Oh yeah.
This is supposed to be a free country, and to nitpick is just insane to me, because you want your guns and you want to control certain things. You want your, freedom of all the things that matter to you, freedom of speech and all that. But when somebody says something you don't like, or somebody's, practicing religion you don't like, suddenly those freedoms don't exist.
They exist for me, but not for you, because you're not doing it the way that I want to.
Exactly. Which just drives me insane.
Because that goes against, like you were saying, the very thing that they like fucking love, like America, right? America, freedom of speech, religion, right to bear, like it's all of them. It's not just the Second Amendment. Like there's a fuck ton of them.
Yeah.
It's not just the one. And it's so it's so unbelievable to me how nitpicky people are, truly, that they can say. So the colonials, right, like a real quick history recap just to parallel this. So the settlers, or the colonials, whatever, came to America to settle this land because they wanted to escape they wanted their religious freedom. They wanted to separate from the Church of England, correct?
Partially, but so they came here to
And
settle for
taxation.
they came here to settle for, at the beginning, they came here to settle for the English. Like, they were here to out on behalf of the King of England
Right.
to settle.
But
Rhode Island, the state of Rhode Island, was created because even in the colonies, they weren't allowing them freedom of religion. He left because he was a different religion and went to Rhode Island.
huh, I did
So
not know.
Roger Williams is his name. He left because he was a different religion, different sect of Christianity, and they wouldn't let him practice it freely, and he felt like he was being discriminated against. So he left and started Rhode Island.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So
That's really
it's
interesting.
the colonies came here on behalf of the British, and then the reason why they decided to leave and become their own country was because of taxation without representation. And they felt like they were being used, basically. And a lot of them died in the first few winters here because they didn't know how to, make food, and they didn't know how to deal with the landscape, the cold winters and stuff. Because you're talking about most of the colonies were in the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
So, so they came here to be more free. Yes, after when the war started, that was the reason why they wanted more freedoms and they wanted to be represented. That's why there was the Revolutionary War. And I think we lose sight of that. And I think we also lose sight of the fact that the Civil War was less than 200 years ago, and a lot of people want to go back to that. And it's like, did you see what happened the first time?
For real, like, you motherfuckers don't learn your fucking lesson. But it's crazy that people are talking about, taking to the streets with their guns and everything to combat this
Hey,
whole decision.
this,
And it's like, it's not even, we might be going into, like, I say might, I don't think it'll actually happen. I don't think we'd go into a revolution. We care about our creature comforts too much. I don't think anything like that's going to happen.
I don't think you're gonna find. I think that there's threats of it, but I think a lot of them are empty.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Nobody's coming for their guns. It's not what's gonna happen. I mean, literally, we have so many more issues besides that. Like, nobody gives a fuck about your guns. And what they're really saying when they say they feel like they're gonna lose their freedoms and their liberty is, I'm going to have to acknowledge people who are actually people of color and people who are gay. I'm gonna have to
You mean
acknowledge they exist.
I have to broaden my perspective? But I but
They're
I
too
am from a
comfortable.
small town.
Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar. I ended up on Polititalk, or whatever you want to call it, political TikToks. Are you familiar with like the hype houses and all that shit they do on there?
Not for Polititalk, no.
Okay, so there's like a group that's called Republican Girls, and they're part of like the Republican hype house or whatever. And they're probably like 18 to like 22ish.
It's
One of the
not
girls,
cute, sis. Stop
no.
it.
So one of the girls like duetted a girl that was crying about like how this election is not about your freedoms, it's about me existing as a woman. They're talking about like birth control and all that stuff, and like abortion, and female rights, female reproductive rights. And the girl that duetted her was some bleach blonde typical Donald Trump supporter that wants to be orange just like him, and she was one of the Republican girls or whatever, and she said that they couldn't take away her rights because of checks and balances in the government.
I did see that.
You saw that video?
I
Yeah. So
did
she
see
said that,
that.
oh, bless your heart, they can't take away your rights because of checks and balances. Well, bless your heart, you didn't pass the 6th grade because checks and balances has to do with the branches of government checking each other's powers, not your rights. And the rights are decided by federal judges. So I just don't understand how you could be a political commentator on an app and claim that and be that fucking stupid when it comes to civics.
That's why I just state my opinion.
I just
I
it
don't
doesn't make
pretend like
sense.
I know shit. I'm just telling you what I believe, what I think.
It's just mind-boggling to me, and it's mind-boggling that there are a lot of prominent senators and representatives of the Republicans that still haven't acknowledged that the race is over and that the election's over. And I don't know if it's posturing or if it's trying to make sure that if they try to run in 2024 that they will have the Trump voters. Um, I think that what we've seen was not something that is a product of social media. I think social media has made it more seen and made it more okay to be that way, to be intolerant and be racist. I think that honestly, you were seeing a product of one, a black man being elected in 2008. I think that made the white supremacists really angry that a black man was in the Oval Office. And I think that you saw the scales tip the exact opposite way because they decided to show up in 2016 to elect Donald Trump because they were not okay with another black person or a female being in office.
It has to be a white man.
A bunch of old white men, and we're back to an old white man again.
You know what? I will take this old white man because he is less bad than the other old white
Yeah,
man.
100%. I totally agree with you there. I just don't understand the failure to acknowledge the election. You have two QAnoners who are now in the Congress and House of Representatives, and Boebert and Taylor Greene, both anti-maskers, anti-vaxxers, gun rights enthusiasts. And they both believe that BLM is a terrorist organization. So it, Georgia and Colorado, those districts are apparently really screwed up to like those people. And in good news, the person that thinks that we should send immigrants, and I'm quoting, back to their shithole countries, the girl that ran in Delaware, lost. So that's good news. The one that was like openly xenophobic and racist on Twitter. I think it's Lauren Whitesick. Is that what it was?
That name sounds right.
Yeah, I think it's her. Anyway, she lost, which is great news. And I don't understand the continued, even by public officials. You talk about Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State, the other day talked about smooth transition to the second Trump administration. You talk about Kayleigh McEnany, who is the press secretary, talk about just 2 days ago on Fox News about how Trump had to be present at the inauguration because it's his own inauguration. Like, I don't know if they're just fucking delusional or they're just trying to feed into an old man's mind games.
I think that the only thing that I can muster is either, and this is going to sound kind of conspiracy theorist, either he has something on them and like it's bad. And
Hmm.
so they're like, yeah, fuck it. Donald Trump will be president because he's going to win. I mean, even after the election has been called, like through and through, and Donald Trump lost, um, I think that it's more of like a, oh no, he says that it's wrong and that everything like was miscounted and that all of this voter fraud is happening. So that has to be real
Yep.
because he's been right about so many other things.
Do you
It
want to talk
feels
about that
like a
voter
sort
fraud
of,
thing for a second?
yeah, go for it.
I said, do you want to talk about it, or do you want me to talk about it?
Go for, yeah, go.
Okay. Uh, so the voter fraud thing, we talked about mail-in ballots that night when we talked about during election night. We talked about how that Pennsylvania was a lot of mail-in ballots in Bucks
Mhm.
County and Philadelphia proper were still out, and they were mostly going towards Joe Biden. And we saw that in several other states. We saw that in Wisconsin. There was a red mirage there, red mirage in Michigan, red mirage in Pennsylvania. And so there was like this
And
false
Georgia.
sense. And Georgia, yeah, Georgia was real close. I think Atlanta made the difference. I mean, completely. 40,000 people voted at State Farm Arena, which is what the Hawks opened up for, and those votes probably made the difference. Those 40,000 people that voted,
Wow.
which is crazy that they opened it up, and just democracy. Because they had been doing a lot of voter suppression in Georgia recently in the last like 4 years, but not to go on a tangent about that because it's messed up in Georgia. Um, Voter fraud, though. Mail-in ballots. He spent 8 months railing against mail-in ballots, talking about how they were not secure and how it was going to hurt the election. And he talked about how they ever need to vote in person that was his supporters. So I'm just curious why he thought that those ballots would be for him and they wouldn't be 70-80% Joe Biden.
Because he's
He railed against it.
delusional.
Well, I mean, what about his supporters? Is what I think. Are they all just delusional? Like, are we
Because
looking at
they're
Are
delusional.
we looking? Because I'm not going to say because I don't think 72 million people are diehard Trump supporters. So let's say what 20, 30 million people are just fucking delusional in America.
Yeah.
Okay, because like
I think
there's because it was pretty obvious that there was a lot of votes out and a lot of them were in Democratic areas. Um, you did see a lot of people turn out that didn't vote before. You saw a lot of people turn out that um, hadn't turned out since 2008 or 2012. So yeah, it made a difference. Absolutely. Georgia, they registered from the time of last election 800,000 people.
wow.
So I mean, you're talking about a major difference. Wisconsin, they registered a ridiculous amount too from 2018. They added, I think, 30 or 40,000 people to theirs. Georgia, they went from 4% unregistered there to 0.2% of the population is now unregistered to vote. That's eligible to vote. So you're talking about astronomical numbers of people registering either day of or registering in the last several months. You can't account for that when you say things like, so let's just go ahead and debunk a couple things here. Wisconsin, they took the 2018 numbers and said that more people voted than were registered. People can register day of in Wisconsin. So that's debunked there. Uh, let's talk about what else. Oh, the voter drop in Michigan when he got 138,000 and Trump got zero. That was a malfunction with the systems. Wisconsin, another thing, same thing happened there. Same computer systems. It happens. You have malfunctions. They fixed it within 10 minutes. But all these things have led to conspiracy theories from the far right saying that it was fixed and they not one Trump ballot. It's not the way it worked. He did take a lot of mail-in ballots though because he told you not to vote by mail.
And I think that's the thing. Like he talks so much shit on it, but the only way, like, he's got to be some sort of narcissist or something because like if he thinks that the mail-in ballots that he specifically explicitly said not to do would count for him, that's got to be some sort of like insane, right? Like doing the same thing and expecting a different result kind of shit.
Yeah, it just listen, he added to his voter profile, which is a lot of people brought up. He added, I think, some like 3 or 4 million people more voted for Donald Trump this time. But Joe Biden gained like 10 million on top of what Hillary had. So, I mean, it doesn't matter that he gained voters. It doesn't matter that he expanded his base. People turn out record numbers for an old white man. And it wasn't some, this is the better candidate by a long shot or anything, and oh, he's got hope and change and all that stuff. It was, we are literally trying to evict the man who lives in the White House, and
Yep.
this old man will do.
Literally, anybody else? Anybody want
Yeah.
literally anybody?
So, and I've heard a lot of people recently bring up the fact that Trump's good for business, pro-business president, and that's why they voted for him. And some people that I've talked to about it are people that are under $75,000 a year. And I don't know if you saw that the other day. They released the tax plan that would have gone into effect for Donald Trump in 2021. He was going to exponentially raise taxes on households making under $75,000, and lower taxes again for those making over $1 million. So it was going to be continued cut taxes for Target and corporations, and continue to hammer the middle class. So to say he's a middle class president is a lie. It is a falsehood. It is a falsity. He was not a middle class president. He waited and to put these tax cuts into place and these tax barrages on the people that are making under $75,000 until his second term, because he knew nobody could do anything if he got reelected. So those tax hikes would have gone through 2027. Biden is going to repeal those in the first week in office, according to his people, with an executive order. I don't know if you saw that he's touting that he's going to do over 100 executive orders in the first several months in office.
Isn't that what Trump said in 2016?
Biden's saying it now, that he's going to do 100 executive orders to get rid of a bunch of tax things that Trump had, a bunch of things, and like embargoes and all that stuff, and the tariffs on the Chinese, trying to ease relations with those that aren't exactly our friends.
But are necessary.
Yeah. And I just think it's important. Diplomacy is a core of how the world functions, and we've severely damaged our diplomacy, our ties with countries like Germany and England, Canada, where it's become hard to be friends because they're mad at us, and France is mad at us. Israel's one of the only countries that doesn't have a problem with us because we've made them more of a power player over the last 4 years, and Russia doesn't have a problem with us because we've made them come back on the scene a little bit, where they've been a little more welcomed again instead of being blacklisted. But besides that, most of these countries are not happy with us, and it's going to take time to rebuild those. And I think it's important to not judge the incoming president on what happens immediately, because he's coming to a shit show. You're talking about 250,000 dead from a deadly pandemic that's still raging. You talk about a mess of foreign relations. You're talking about a bunch of issues, and you're talking about an economy that's tanking. You're talking about small businesses are closing, and you're talking about that you have one of the largest unemployment groups in the history of the United States. So to judge him based on that, and I'm sure it'll happen. I just can see it right now. Tucker Carlson, 3 days after he's elected, talking about that this is Biden's America. No, Trump created this issue. The new president's going to take time to fix things. And will it happen in 4 years? I don't know.
Just like how Trump took credit for a bunch of shit that happened during the Obama administration.
Yeah, the bill, like the military bills that he was talking about, and the healthcare and everything. Yeah, none of that stuff was under him. It's mind-boggling the lying he's done. They who tweeted out? Some reporter tweeted out the other day that he had over 20,000 lies during his presidency.
20,000?
20,000 lies.
Oh my God. Like, why am I not surprised, but why
It's
am I
not surprising.
still so shaken by that?
It not to sound extremist, but it is completely time to just. Biden is known for going across the aisle and working, and being like very bipartisan. It's time to be partisan. It's time to govern as you see fit. Yes, Nancy Pelosi lost you seats in Congress. Yes, the Senate is currently up in the air, but if the Senate elections go your way, both of them in Georgia, you have control of the House and Senate. You should govern as you see fit, not as let's hear what Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz and whoever the FL wants to chime in has to say. You should govern as an American president and use the time to pass sufficient health care, pass COVID relief, to pass bills that matter, instead of sitting on your hands.
I thoroughly agree. Because, and it all goes back to the one debate where I think that no, that's not what I'm trying to say.
Go ahead,
Where
take your time.
where I think he lost voters. I think that he lost voters because he was trying to get moderates and he was trying to cast a net so wide to get everybody.
Yep.
And it's really time to buckle down because Joe Biden is inheriting a crisis, a
Mhm.
dumpster fire, a absolute shit show. And I feel for the man because this is a tall task.
Yeah.
But I hope that he does take charge and take initiative and really try to fix a lot of the things. I'm really intrigued to read his executive orders.
Mhm.
I'd love to see what he actually does have planned.
Yep.
Um, Another thing I really want to make clear as well is that don't mistake this this banter on Trump as support for Biden. The only reason that we're supporting Biden, or at least if I may be so bold to say, like that we are supporting Biden, is because it is out of necessity.
Yep.
He will be critiqued just as hard as we would critique Trump because he's in the public eye and he has a lot of work to do to get this country on some sort of better track than it was, because everything that has happened in the last 4 years has been just like a waking nightmare, honestly. Like, from political things that I've seen happen, I feel like this country is more divided and more hated and a literal joke to the world because of the person that we collectively, some didn't, but the majority of us voted to put into office. I think that that is an embarrassment that we will have to really fucking
You mean in
scrub to get
2016?
off of our history. Yeah,
He didn't have a majority. He lost the popular vote. He just won
but
because of electoral college.
exactly. Like, he's still,
Oh man.
I mean, that's still
Uh,
population.
yeah, I think so. 8 out of the last 9 elections, Democrats have won the popular vote, and they haven't won 8 out of the last 9 elections. In case you were wondering. So obviously, electoral college is a flawed system. It underrepresents voters in several key states. It makes an emphasis on basically 6 to 8 states every time, where it's Florida, you know, and Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona now, Georgia apparently too now. You're just talking about less than 10 states that basically are overrepresented, and it just like they decide the presidency and that's it. Because like which ways Texas are usually going to go. Texas is getting closer now though. Which way California is going to go. Despite the like large amount of Orange County Republicans, there's not enough to overcome the San Francisco and the LA area.
Bay Area coming in clutch.
Yeah, it boggles my mind that we have such an antiquated system, and I know it was our founders that came up with it, and sure, it worked back then, I guess, but it needs to be replaced. I don't know what the answer is to replacing it, but it needs to be replaced.
It
Speaking to
definitely.
what you said about Joe Biden, I've heard people say that they're going to hold us accountable for voting for him, Trump people. And to that, I say, no, the fuck you won't hold us accountable for it. We were forced to vote for this old man because of Donald Trump. It's mind boggling to me that they see it that way. Joe Biden will be critiqued as hard as Donald Trump, and I will critique him just as hard. I've
Yep.
seen his transition team for security and international relations. It is very reminiscent of an Obama's 2 terms. I don't like the people he's picked for his transition team, and I'll say that now. The people that helped usher in cages for immigrants. Literally, the head of that whole task force that came up with the immigration policy is on his
What?
team for on the transition team for security, for national security. She's one of the people that he named to as a part of, like, I guess, what do you call it, an advisor. So it's one of his advisors on his transition for security and international like interests. She's an immigration person. The person that came up with their drone policy is on the same committee.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
the person that turned a blind eye to what was going on in Syria during their whole massacre of their own people, the genocide, is on that same thing. People that called for Edward Snowden to be put in prison for life are on that same transition team. I'm going to critique Biden. I'm critiquing him now. People he's appointed so far as people that are his transition team scare me because they are people that want to get rid of your freedoms as well. Trump did not make you more free, though. They are both people that got rid of your freedom. Trump's a part of the swamp just as much as Biden is. And to say that Trump was an outsider and was different is a lie. He's in his own words a billionaire, but it's kind of flat money. It's not really real money. It's assets that aren't really assets. What he has, and I think, and to be so bold to claim this, I think he's going to be in prison within the next 4 years.
Should we start making all these politicians for prison like they did with Hillary in 2016?
Jeez, dude. I don't know. Maybe.
And it is scary to hear that because you when you're in this kind of situation and you're like, okay, we can either go with Trump and like scary authoritarianism and terrifying far right shit and divisiveness, racism, whatever, Handmaid's Tale type thing.
Yeah.
And then you go the other way and Biden wins. And so you're like, okay, maybe hopefully it won't be so bad. You have that moment of optimism where you're like, Orange Man's out. And then you're like, oh shit, Kamala Harris is a cop. Oh no. And then you find out about the people that he's appointed as the transition team, as I just did.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, so it's gonna all be like
government's always flawed. Things need to change. I think it's important that the Democrats flip both the seats in Georgia. I am not a Democrat, but the Republicans who are in Georgia are atrocious. They were both on the committee that had classified intel on COVID and the stock market months before anybody knew what was going on. And they both did not tell people that were their constituents. Kelly Loeffler traded millions of dollars in stocks a day after that briefing where they were given classified information. She sold things that were going to struggle. She sold things that did not involve delivery. She sold a bunch of gas stocks. She bought Amazon in boatloads and Citrix, which are both delivery services. She bought Citrix and Amazon knowing that they were going to explode because of COVID. So she bought millions of dollars of stock. Her husband is the head of the stock exchange in New York.
Shit.
To say it's not insider trading is stupid. She is a criminal. She is the bottom of the swamp. She is literally covered in the swamp mud. She is the swamp. If you want to talk about that as a Republican, she is the worst. She is fucking awful. And as far as the other senator goes, he's just as bad. He got the same briefing. He didn't tell any of his constituents, but he told his high-level donors that the stock market was going to be bad and they needed to sell their oil stocks in a private phone call. So they both committed insider trading. They're both horrible people. They both let people die in Georgia at the sake of calling for freedoms, like not closing things down, not wearing masks. They are complicit in the death of thousands of Georgians. And to bring them back as insider trading people who allowed their constituents to die from COVID is a grave mistake. Reverend Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff are way better picks. Party aside, they are better people, and I think they'll do a better job for Georgia than Kelly Loeffler will.
I think that that's a good way to look at it. I think that we really do need to break away from, as we were talking about, I think a few podcasts ago, where you just vote straight party, like all straight Republican, straight Democrat, because you don't know what kind of person you're getting. We really need to do more research to the people that we appoint to these houses of law, like where they uphold our laws, because
Yep.
those are the kind of people that can actually change our world.
Yep.
And I
And
think we need to be a little bit more choosy than just Donald
we're
Trump
not
or Joe
choosy.
Biden.
I mean, you're talking about how the re-election rates are well into the 80 percentile. You know, the last time I checked, it was 90.6 your chances of being reelected as a senator or House representative. Most people
Mm-hmm.
don't read up on it. They don't pay attention to who these people are, and they just revote. They just reelect the person. I can tell you that I did my research before I voted. I think it's important to take 20, 30 minutes of your time instead of watching a Netflix show, instead of, diddling your Genki, to freaking look up what your candidates stand for and why you should vote for the person and why you shouldn't vote for somebody. And I'm talking to Democrats and Republicans alike. But specifically, I think it's more important to address the Republicans who didn't vote for president but voted the rest of the ticket. Fuck you. um, just because you hate Trump means you probably should have voted for the other person, not just left it blank. I mean,
Neutrality sides with the oppressor.
Exactly, and
Neutral.
it boggles my mind, and that one more thing to debunk here. He was complaining about how Senate and congressional candidates got more votes in districts and in states that were Republicans than he did. It's because they didn't vote for you, you dumb fuck. They voted for the Senate candidate down the ballot and just left the president blank. I know several people that did that. So it happened in Oklahoma too. So it's not like it's some shocking thing that thousands of people didn't vote for you and they just left it blank.
I know people that did that in the last election too. They
Yep.
didn't want to choose.
Ain't much of a choice.
True.
Oh man.
I think that there's going to be a lot of scrutiny looking on Joe Biden right now. He is in the hot fucking seat,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, with good reason. The people that voted for him hold high standards,
Yep.
to undo all of the fucking awful things that have happened in the
Mm-hmm.
past 4 years and prevent future things from happening all in the same breath. I think that we need to not necessarily be mean, but just very much watch what happens and make sure that we don't fall into the same sort of authoritarianism scare that I know I felt in the Trump presidency. I
Yeah.
almost said regime. Oh my God.
Well, I mean,
You
you're
got that
not
in my
wrong.
head.
You're not wrong. It is similar to a regime. There's definitely been frightening things that happened in the last few weeks. The firing of 6 Pentagon senior staff in the Defense Department is scary. He's putting in loyalists, which is what people like Hitler did. And it's. I'm just glad it's winding down. I don't think there's any more recourse for him. He's, I think, one of 16 right now in lawsuits. Like, bravo, good job. They're losing all their lawsuits. In some states, they were trying to throw out military ballots in the lawsuits, trying to make where the military didn't vote, saying that they came in too late. As somebody that's run as a pro-military president, it's pretty fucked up. He trying to throw out military ballots, trying to throw out absentee ballots for signatures not matching. I can tell you, I never look at my fucking signature. It's literally just my first letter, my like a big line. My signature almost never matches. So to throw that out on that is just so, it's just, it's mind boggling. I
Nitpicky.
it's gross. It's obstructionism. It is just, it's not American. It's not
It's not
democracy. It's not anything that America stands for.
at all. And to throw out troop ballots, like the people fighting
Mhm.
for, as they, like the whole spiel, the people fighting for your right to do that. You want to throw that out? You want to talk about hypocrisy? There it is, right fucking
I
there.
mean, he just he just goes against everything that he claims to support, and he goes against his own supporters. Um, I don't understand it, and we talked about that a little bit ago. The whole MAGA march and shit, and it just the lying continues. I mean, I just saw yesterday the press secretary said there's 1 million people there. There was 11,000 people there. It wasn't a
My
million people.
my personal favorite thing that has happened in the Trump presidency is the Trump rally in Tulsa when like 1 million people were supposed to show up and it was like
You
16,000.
and the Gen Zers on TikTok were totally messing with it.
I'm so, and they had to tear down the outside stages, and I just, oh, that is peak Gen Z, and I love
It's,
it. Oh my God.
it's crazy, man. I mean, I loved it too, but it's just hilarious.
Oh man. I think that there's a lot to expect within these next I don't think we're out of the woods. I definitely think that he's going to fight till the bitter end. I mean, like, literally, this is kind of sick and twisted, but like my picture perfect, like, send off for Donald Trump is that he just gets dragged out of the White House by his ankles, like throwing a tantrum. Like that, I would just be like, that is the perfect way to end 2020. You know what I mean? Like, that's just chef's kiss.
Isn't it? It's great. Man, I'd love to see that. People talk about they pay pay-per-view to see him thrown out of the White House.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just sad what our country has come to, and I really hope that he finally concedes. It doesn't seem like it's close based on what I've seen from his timeline tonight. I mean, it's just we're still literally more than 2 months away from Biden being president, and I fear for our country. He's sitting on his hands, pouting, rather than dealing with COVID, and rather than talking about how several soldiers died in Egypt the other day from a peacekeeping mission. He hasn't addressed any of that. The only thing he's addressed is
the election.
That, and then he had a press conference a couple days ago in the Rose Garden talking about trying to take credit for the vaccine from Pfizer. So that's about all he's done. Just to be clear, Pfizer was not part of Operation Warp Speed. They developed their own vaccine with their own money, nothing to do with the government. Donald Trump cannot take credit for it.
Did you see okay, so did you see that he found out like on a golf course and they had to cart him back to the White House in this Escalade, and there's one picture of this girl just standing out like towards the road with both middle fingers up at him and you can see his face, and
oh man,
I want that framed.
It's bad.
I mean, it's definitely like, what the fuck has this world come to? But at the same time, like, if some there's one thing I know for sure about people in this generation and like at this point in time is that if it's fucked up, they will make a meme out of it.
Yep, it's coming. The memes.
Comedy is a great coping mechanism, man.
It is.
When in doubt, laugh it out, man.
Oh man,
Can't hurt if it's funny.
this is true. Oh, did you have anything else to add?
No, I think I'm good.
I feel like I talked too much. Thank you for listening to episode 25. Follow us on social media at God Issues Pod on all platforms.
Literally
Instagram,
everything.
Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, yada yada yada, and YouTube now. And listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, Google.
We're on TikTok.
Oh yeah, TikTok. Yes, same at TikTok. I forgot about TikTok. We need to be more active on there for sure. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
All right.